ya? You all right? Welcome to the Moth. I am Tara Clancy. I'm going to be your host for tonight. Tonight's theme is fever pitch. Fever pitch, stories of shady deals and grave errors and trials by fire. I think that they put that in there just so they could hear me say fire. It's the one word. I can't do it. Fire. Okay. Stories of trials by fire. Turns out I had a little trial by fire recently, so I'm gonna share that with you now, all right? So my wife and I, we have two sons. It is, the universe's little joke on the lesbians, So, you don't like penises, huh? You're gonna be scrubbing balls for the next 5 years. All right, so I got these two sons. Me, my wife, and my sons were in our car, right? And I'm driving, my wife is in the passenger seat, the kids are in the back, my little guy's about 2 years old, my big guy is 5 years old. And I'm talking with my wife, and you never realize that they're listening to you. I'm talking with my wife, and I use the word dyke. All right, we were having a very in-depth conversation about water control and ditches, and no. And my son right away, instantly goes, "What's dyke?" And what instantly comes back out of my mouth is, "It's a pejorative term for lesbian." And I want to tell you that what my son said next is, what is pejorative, right? But he did not. He said, "What is a lesbian?" We're like, "Are you kidding me, kid?" For Christ's sake, can't you see the forest for the trees here? Anyway, I answer the kid, right? I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm like, a lesbian is a woman that loves a woman, and a gay man is a man that loves a man, and then when men and women love each other, we call them straight people. And he kind of asked a few more times. I have to go over it a few more times. I'm like, not sure if he gets it. And finally, it's just sort of silent. And my wife and I look at each other, we're like, oh, all right, maybe that worked. And then we hear zzzz in the back. And we both turn around, and he is opening his window in the back. And we look at him, and he's opening the window, and he's sticking his head out the window, and he's staring at something. So now my wife and I turn back to see what he's staring at. And it's a man and a woman, and they are walking down the street, and they're pushing a baby stroller. And then we look back at my son, and he sticks his head all the way out of the window, and he goes, "Hello, straight people!" My wife, these poor people probably think that, we just, go all around Manhattan, pointing people out, this is a drive-through safari, And now, sons, we're going to see the indigenous heterosexuals in their natural habitat of Chelsea Piers. All right, are you ready for some stories? All right, welcome back. You might want to check that your cell phones are off again if you turn that, I gotcha. Just check and make sure that they are off again, all right, all the way off. And now, I don't know, I'm going to tell you a little story. Does that sound good? Okay. So couple of years back, my wife's sister decided that she wanted to get married on a cruise ship. And so, of course, we had to go, which I was miserable about. Actually, I was terrified. You know, I was like, I'm this like dyed-in-the-wool, neurotic native New Yorker, right? So I was just like, you know, if this thing doesn't crash or sink, you know, then we're gonna definitely get that, you know, that neurovirus or whatever it is, and you know, forget about the germs on these things. What about the people, right? I'm like, they're gonna string our lesbian asses up on the Lido deck, right? I'm like, just look at them, honey, just look at them. Oh, I'm saying all of this out loud as we're walking up the gangplank. Just look, it's like, you know, it's like two zealots from Ohio, you know, I'm like, it's like, you know, two neo-Nazis from Rhode Island, right? I'm like, two, you know, homophobes from Nebraska. I'm like, this thing is like Noah's Ark for rejects. But my wife, who is just my opposite in every way, which is to say, an optimist, was just like, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be fine, we'll dance, we'll have a good time. Okay, so it's the first night in, and as usual, she's right, I'm a jerk. I'm having a blast, right? I'm doing shots with the Nazis. I'm dancing with the zealots, you know. I don't give a shit. We have such a good time. We actually like go to the bar and we meet this couple and we end up like talking to them like all night long. And they are kind of like, they're like biker types, right? They got like, the woman has like the bleach blonde hair and the guy has like the bleary forearm tattoos. And I find, you know, with the biker types, it's like you can't really tell, you know? Like you can't really tell. You're like, are you a rebel or are you a Reaganite, you know? I don't know. But we're having this great time when all of a sudden, it is like the record scratches. Because at the same time that it occurs to us that they are super conservative, it occurs to them that we are a couple. And they actually say, they're like, wait, you're lesbians? Like, no one has ever had to ask me that question before. Ever. Not once, you know? But they keep going. They're like, you're lesbians, right? And I'm like, meanwhile, my wife instantly does that cringe-worthy thing, you know, where she's like, yes, we are, and aren't we nice people, and haven't we been having a perfectly nice time with you up until now, you know? I, meanwhile, am like, abandon ship, whoop! I'm out. I am halfway to a lifeboat. I got the life jacket on. I'm like, fend for yourself, honey. All right, so we have this kind of, it's not that bad, but we just have this like awkward, abrupt goodbye. We go back to our room. Next morning, we wake up and we are, you know, we're gonna go to the pool deck. That's what my wife wants to do. That's the only thing that there is to do, right? You eat and there's a pool. Welcome to a cruise. Then you pretend you went to Mexico. You just dock and there's a Señor Frogs right there and you eat at it. And you get back on the ship and you're like, I went to Mexico. It's terrible. So my wife wants us to go, you know, to the pool deck. And I'm like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't even want to run into these people. I don't want to see these people. I'm afraid. And she's like, we're going. And she is literally wearing, right? She is wearing a bikini with cherries on it, these little cherries. She's got matching high heels with little printed cherries on them. She has a sarong with cherries. She has a giant hat and giant sunglasses. And she starts to like parade out there like she is the lesbian Liz Taylor, right? And I'm behind her, meanwhile, and I am like wearing a fake mustache and hiding behind potted plants, you know, like da-doop, 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 da-doop. I'm the lesbian Pink Panther. I'm gonna leave that. So we get out onto the deck and we find a couple of chairs. We sit down, and I am reading a magazine. I'm reading a New Yorker. She's sitting next to me. And we are out there for no more than 2 minutes, when from the side, of my eye, I can see her waving, and I'm like, oh, no. Oh, no. And I start to pull the magazine down, and right across from us are the biker couple. And they're walking towards us. And right before I go back under the magazine, I see like a flash of metal, something metal in the guy's hands. And his hands are like this. And I see a flash of metal. And I'm like, oh my God, he has a gun, right? Like, he has smuggled a gun onto the cruise ship. That's NRA motherfucker, right? I'm like, oh my God. It's really happening, right? And he's walking towards us. And my genius instinct in this moment is to hide back down under my New Yorker. Probably not bulletproof, right? I mean, it was a double issue, but still. I'm under the magazine. They get to the foot of our chairs, and I peer back. And the guy has in his hands 4 cans of Coors Light. As in shitty beer, but not a gun. Stacked up. And he hands one to my wife, and he hands one to me, and he hands one to his wife, and he takes one, and he pops it, and he goes, listen, we're really sorry that last night got weird. We really liked hanging out with you guys, and so we wanted to bring you a little bit of an offering. And my wife is like, you see? You see? And so what's the point of this story? The point of this story is that I'm an asshole. That's it. I'm a judgmental asshole. And I just will quickly, a quick coda. After I told my wife that I was going to tell this story, which I haven't told in a long time, she said, oh, don't you remember what happened next? And I was like, no, I thought that was the end. And she was like, no, you don't remember? She was like, several weeks after we got home, they sent us a postcard. A really sweet postcard. And I was like, oh yeah, now it's coming back to me. And she was like, it was like from like Route 66, and they were like on their hogs or something, It's like, nice to meet you, And you had this moment where you're like, oh, that's really nice. And then I turned and I walked away from you, and you went, you gave them our address? All right, that's my story.